Hello, my name is Lindsay Reed, and I will be discussing ethics and worldview as it applies to instructional design technology. Moore and Ellsworth conducted perhaps the most comprehensive review on the state of ethics in instructional design technology, concluding that there is very little literature within the instructional design technology space that focuses on ethical concerns. In undergrad, I had to take a test on the ethics of teaching. There was a specific class for it. I did it again when I was accepted into graduate school, just making sure that I understood the boundaries in which I needed to place for between me and my students. And there aren't many for online teaching. That's what this is stating, is that as we're teaching online, we are learning new concerns that arise. Um, so we're going to go through a few that we can think about as um, educators. So what are ethics in instructional design? So first off, I want to talk about instructional design, which is building of our lesson units. So when we're talking about it, ethics included into that, you want to make sure you're not imposing your own opinion. So when you're designing, that you are focusing on facts and not something that you made up or came up with, but that it is supported by other resources that will help your students understand the concepts. What are your intentions? So what are your intentions with your lessons? What are your intentions with your assessments? Are they effective? What are you looking to get out of them? What is it going to benefit the student? Oh, I'm so sorry, I hit the wrong button. Communication. So we learned this week of guidelines for us to follow as we communicate with students online. That was really helpful for me, just being able to know that I have something that will help me as I message my students, and making sure that what I'm writing is effective and that they are understanding what I'm either asking of them or encouraging them. Making sure our lessons are culturally responsive. This is something you learn in undergrad, but with online teaching, it's a little different. Technology, you've got a different boundary in place. You've got to make sure that you're able to bridge that gap and integrate students' culture and make sure that they feel comfortable sharing and expressing that with you and the class. Lastly, building students up to be confident. Often students online don't feel that support and are lacking confidence. So a couple things is to send notes of encouragement. Again, those guidelines that we were given this week, making sure that as we communicate with them, it's effective and that they know that we're there for them and that we are their biggest supporter when it comes to their education, and guiding them through difficult assignments. What can we do to better them? How can we support them through those? If you know a student's going to struggle, how can you effectively reach out to them and make sure that they know that you're there to help them if they need it, or if they get stuck, that you can help them walk through a problem or a discussion. Making yourself available to them is huge, especially with technology. Next. So while all education will be transformational on some level, the desire to effect transformation of the deepest pre-theoretical worldview assumptions that strongly influence beliefs and practices through conceptual shifts on ontology, epistemology, and praxis should be central to Christian higher education. So when it's talking about ethics in instructional design, we also have to think about what our biblical worldview in our instructional design plan is, where are we rooted, and how does that fall on us as educators? So Romans 12:2 is one of the things I fall on the most. So it says, do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind, that by testing you may discern what is the will of God, what is good and acceptable and perfect, so that our lessons aren't guiding students towards the worldly view of things, but that we are helping them and growing them as students in their minds, that they are able to discern for themselves what is good and acceptable in the will, in the eyes of God, and that through lessons and communication, that they know that we may not always be available to them, but he is, and he hears them, which leads us to the application to biblical worldview and instructional design. A firm foundation. This is huge, making sure that you are rooted and planted so that you are able to help with the next generation, and that through instructional design and technology, the communication and encouraging letters are rooted in Christ, and that it comes from him, and that it's prayed over, and knowing that the students know that you do that for them. Sometimes they'll give you a funny look, but knowing that they're being prayed for changes their outlook on you a little, and appreciation is there. Communication, again, we have those guidelines, but making sure that our communication is clear and uplifting. Again, diversity. There's so many things that can come into a classroom, not just the different cultures and such, but the diversity amongst students and their backgrounds. In Georgia, we have like the north side and the south side, and depending upon where you come from, if it comes in a classroom, sometimes it can be difficult to bridge that gap of understanding, because it's sometimes a different world in different parts of Georgia, depending on how close you are to the city or how far out you live. And so having the students understand and learn from each other from their different backgrounds, and learning through online and technology and seeing the different perspectives is huge. And thank you for listening. Here are my references. Come back soon.